Okay, what if aging isn't just a one-way street? What if it's actually a solvable puzzle? Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving into a breakthrough that honestly sounds like pure science fiction, but it's happening right in front of us. We're going to look at how artificial intelligence literally just compressed 160 years of aging research into a mere fraction of the time. And to be clear, we're not talking about some trendy new diet or a new skin cream here. We are talking about the literal search for a biological reset switch. Let's get right into it.
So we're kicking things off with a massive mystery, one that completely shatters how we've traditionally understood human biology. Look, for centuries, pretty much every culture on Earth has just fundamentally accepted that aging is inevitable, right? It's this slow, steady decline that you just can't stop. But what if your cells still remember how to be young? What if the original, perfect instructions for youth are still locked away deep inside your biology, and the real issue is just that our bodies forgot how to read them? To get to the bottom of that mind-bending question, scientists turned to AI. And the result? An absolute paradigm shift. In a fraction of the time it would usually take, AI accomplished the equivalent of 160 years of human lab research. Just think about what that means for a second. Decades upon decades of human scientists pipetting liquids, running isolated trials, staring at spreadsheets, completely bypassed. AI sifted through these absolute mountains of complex biological data at speeds we previously thought were impossible. Which naturally forces us to ask an incredibly exciting question. What exactly did they find when they unleashed this massive AI capability onto the biology of aging?
Part 1, the biological reset switch.
Traditionally, we've always looked at aging as physical wear and tear, basically broken hardware. Over your lifetime, your joints wear out from friction, your cells physically break down, your DNA gets dinged up by the environment. It's the classic idea that a machine eventually just breaks. But this new theory, it flips that completely on its head. It views aging as information loss. So in this framework, it's not a hardware problem at all. It's corrupted software. The physical structure is actually fine, and the core data is still totally intact. The real problem is that the body's operating system has just lost the ability to read that data properly.
Which brings us to the information theory of aging. To really wrap our heads around this theory, which has been championed by pioneering researchers like David Sinclair, we have to talk about epigenetics. Imagine your entire DNA sequence is this massive, incredibly complex library that contains every single instruction needed to build and maintain you. Every cell in your body has the exact same library. But epigenetics, they're the chemical sticky notes. Scientists call them things like DNA methylation and sirtuins. But their job is actually pretty simple. They tell a specific cell exactly which books to open and read. They tell a heart cell, hey, only read the heart books, and a skin cell to only read the skin books. Aging happens when those tiny sticky notes get moved around, fall off, or just get super messy over the decades. The cell gets confused, and it starts reading the wrong instruction. Think of this epigenetic noise, this biological confusion, like a scratched CD skipping a track. The music is still perfectly printed on the disc, but the laser just can't read it smoothly. Or, a corrupted hard drive where the file is absolutely there, it just won't open. My personal favorite analogy is imagining a world-class pianist who suddenly gets handed the wrong sheet music. The pianist hasn't forgotten how to play beautifully. Their talent is totally intact. The instructions they're currently looking at are just wrong. The absolutely crucial thing to take away here is that the original youthful information is still physically inside you. It's just buried under layers of biological noise. Part 3, the cellular backup copy. Now, this mind-bending theory gets a huge boost from something called the embryo reset. If you really think about it, a baby doesn't inherit the biological age of its 30 or 40-year-old parents. I mean, if it did, human life wouldn't even continue. Instead, that new life starts at biological 0, and that tells us something truly monumental. During early development, there's a natural process that completely clears away decades of the parent's epigenetic noise. It perfectly resets the biological clock. This proves, without a doubt, that biology already knows exactly how to wipe the slate clean. The mechanism literally exists in nature. So to test if we could manually tap into this backup copy in adult cells, scientists turned to a process called partial cellular reprogramming, using these specific proteins known as OSK factors. You can think of these proteins as biological code breakers. Now, the critical word here is partial. If you completely reprogram an adult cell, it goes all the way back to being a stem cell and completely forgets its identity. That's incredibly dangerous and can lead to things like tumors. The delicate goal here is to carefully use these OSK factors to rewind the biological age of a cell just enough so it becomes young again, but still perfectly remembers, hey, I'm a heart cell or I'm a liver cell. This concept brilliantly jumped from theory to reality during a now famous mouse experiment. The researchers approached it chronologically. First, over a few weeks, they intentionally made young mice biologically older by deliberately disrupting their epigenetic information patterns. They basically manufactured that biological noise we just talked about. And this proved that epigenetic noise directly causes the symptoms of aging. Then, over a few months, they introduced the OSK factors. They kicked off that partial cellular reprogramming. And guys, the result was astonishing. They successfully reversed the biological markers of aging in these mice. They healed damaged tissue, restored vision, and essentially pushed the animals backward in time simply by clearing the noise.
Moving on to how AI changes everything.
While that mouse experiment was a huge deal, doing this manually in a lab is agonizingly slow. And this is exactly where artificial intelligence completely shifts the paradigm of drug discovery. The old way relied heavily on traditional physical lab testing. Scientists had to manually synthesize compounds, test them on cells and petri dishes, wait for the results. It's a process that is incredibly slow, insanely expensive, and frankly, physically limited by human endurance. The new reality shifts this whole thing to lightning-fast virtual molecule screening. AI uses advanced machine learning to spot complex biological patterns and interactions that no human being could ever see, totally removing that physical bottleneck of the laboratory. To really grasp the scale of what AI is bringing to the table here, I want you to consider the number 8 billion. Acting like this massive biological searchlight, AI recently screened 8 billion distinct molecules. It analyzed the incredibly subtle, intricate differences between young cells and old cells, and then it simulated exactly how these 8 billion chemical compounds would interact with those cells to reverse the aging process. It mapped their shapes, their charges, their effects, and it did all of this in a matter of months. To put that into perspective, running physical tests on 8 billion molecules would literally be impossible for a global team of human scientists to achieve in multiple lifetimes. But AI's biological toolkit goes way beyond just screening massive lists. It's actively solving the three-dimensional puzzles of life. We're talking about predicting incredibly complex protein structures, something that used to take a PhD student years to map for just one single protein. It's virtually docking chemical compounds into precise biological targets to see if they fit perfectly like a key in a lock. It's using machine learning to read biological age clocks with absolute microscopic precision. We even have autonomous AI agents now that are actively generating brand new scientific hypotheses for researchers to go test. It's fundamentally compressing decades of painstaking trial and error human labor into mere months of computational processing.
Which brings us to the one-pill paradox.
This leads us to the ultimate dream of longevity research, and honestly, the whole reason AI was deployed here in the first place. Right now, achieving cellular reprogramming requires complex, highly customized, and incredibly expensive gene therapies. We're talking about procedures that cost millions of dollars and require intense medical infrastructure. So the multi-billion-dollar question AI is trying to answer is this: could one simple, cheap, easily accessible chemical molecule safely mimic the exact same effects of that complex gene therapy? Can we actually discover a stable compound that packages the biological reset switch into a safe, daily pill that anyone can just take? Now, we definitely need to be scientifically careful in the face of all this excitement. AI is incredibly powerful, and the speed of discovery right now is breathtaking. But biology is still far more complex than even our absolute best supercomputers can fully simulate. It's a known reality in science that what works perfectly in a pristine petri dish, or a highly controlled lab mouse, or even in monkeys, is still completely unproven in human beings. We can't make irresponsible leaps here. Human biology always holds profound surprises, unintended side effects, and intricate cascade reactions that a simulation just might not catch until actual physical clinical trials are done. But even with that necessary scientific skepticism, the core takeaway here is absolutely staggering. The most profound shift happening right now isn't some false, overhyped promise of immortality. No, it's the reality that aging is no longer this invisible, inevitable decay that we just have to sit back and accept. Because of the convergence of epigenetic theory and artificial intelligence, aging is transforming into a biological code. It's becoming readable, it's becoming accurately measurable, and perhaps, very soon, it will become fully adjustable. We're shifting from just managing the symptoms of decline to actively editing the source code of health. As we stand at the very beginning of this terrifying yet incredibly exciting new era, I want to leave you with this final thought. If artificial intelligence can compress 160 years of foundational aging research into a few short months, what happens to the future of human discovery? When AI steps out of the realm of being just a tool and becomes our ultimate high-speed research partner, what impossible scientific mysteries are we going to unlock next? Keep questioning the impossible.